This valuation slide captures General Electric, now essentially GE Aerospace, very well. Not as the old conglomerate, but as a much cleaner aerospace franchise that the market is now pricing for quality. The big historical success was the breakup itself. Investors used to pay for the GE brand and then got punished by complexity, weak capital allocation, and businesses that did not belong together. The later mistake was the opposite. After the collapse, many investors kept valuing GE as if the legacy baggage would permanently define it. But by 2025, the numbers showed a very different company. Adjusted revenue up 21% to $42.3 billion, adjusted EPS up 38% to $6.37, free cash flow at $7.7 billion, and backlog around $190 billion. That is not old GE behavior. That is a focused aerospace platform with real operating leverage. Now to the present. With the stock around $314 on your chart, the market is clearly not skeptical anymore. It is paying above the old normal zone because it believes this is a structurally better business. And there is logic behind that. In January, GE Aerospace guided 2026 adjusted EPS to $7.10 to $7.40, above consensus at the time, driven by strong aftermarket demand. Reuters also noted that more than 70% of commercial engine revenue comes from parts and services, which is exactly the kind of mix investors reward with a premium multiple. The next major checkpoint is close as well, with Q1 2026 earnings on April 21st. But this is also where valuation becomes more demanding. GE is no longer being priced like a recovery story. It is being priced like a premium industrial compounder. That means investors are assuming the installed base flywheel, especially in LEAP and the broader services business, keeps converting into cleaner earnings and cash flow. Management is trying to reinforce that case. GE announced an additional $1 billion of U.S. investment in 2026, including capacity for LEAP and support for suppliers, while Culp has said supply chain improvements should help support a 15% to 20% increase in jet engine deliveries. At the same time, Reuters also reported a tariff hit of more than $500 million, which is a reminder that even a great aerospace story still has execution friction. So the real takeaway from this chart is this: GE is no longer cheap and it is no longer misunderstood. Today's valuation reflects real confidence that the company has transformed from a broken conglomerate into a high-quality aerospace leader. That confidence can still be justified if services stay strong, deliveries rise, and supply chain execution keeps improving. But at this price, the market is already giving GE credit for being structurally better than the past. So unlike the old years, today's upside comes less from re-rating off fear, and more from proving that this premium is deserved. Let's go straight into the risks. Because with GE Aerospace, the question in 2026 is not whether demand exists. Demand is strong. The real risk is whether the company can convert that demand into on-time deliveries, reliable engine performance, and clean margin expansion. That matters because GE is no longer priced like a recovery story. It is increasingly priced like a premium aerospace compounder, and that raises the penalty for even modest execution misses. The biggest risk is still supply chain execution. GE says its supply chain remains complex and deeply interconnected, with more than 500 direct suppliers, and that material availability, labor shortages, logistics issues, inflation and supplier capacity constraints have continued to challenge production commitments. In other words, backlog is not the same thing as delivered revenue. If suppliers cannot keep up, engine deliveries, spare part availability and cash conversion all get pushed out. The second major risk is product safety, quality and certification. This is aerospace. One serious design, durability or production issue can create outsized financial and reputational damage. GE's 10K is explicit that actual or perceived product safety or quality problems can lead to customer disruption, remedial work, higher costs, and regulatory action. Aviation authorities can require inspections, modifications, removals, and even ground fleets. For a company whose valuation now depends heavily on the installed base service flywheel, reliability matters enormously. Then there is commercial aerospace cyclicality. GE says a substantial portion of its business is tied to economic conditions in commercial aviation, and demand depends on traffic levels, fuel prices, airline profitability, labor costs, aircraft production schedules, and the financial health of airframers and operators. So even with strong secular travel demand, GE is still exposed to the basic reality that airlines can defer, airframers can slip, and macro shocks can hit flying activity faster than investors expect. Trade and geopolitics are another real risk. GE says tariffs, sanctions, local content rules, and broader trade tensions have been disruptive and costly, interfering with its global operating model, customer relationships, and production costs. The company also said tariffs create additional cost for both GE and its suppliers, while Reuters has reported a tariff hit of more than $500 million. That is not a small background issue. It can directly pressure margins and delivery timing. Defense exposure adds its own uncertainty. GE's defense business depends on U.S. and allied government spending, policy priorities, and appropriations, and the company says government customers can modify, curtail, or terminate contracts. On top of that, large customer concentration matters. GE notes significant business and credit exposure to some of its biggest customers, and some contracts require payments if equipment is not delivered on time or fails to meet agreed conditions. GE Aerospace's 2026 risk is not weak demand. It is execution under pressure. If supply chains improve, products stay reliable, and customers keep taking engines and services on schedule, the story works. But if delays, quality issues, tariffs, and customer friction hit together, the stock can derate faster than the underlying franchise changes. Now the opportunity side, because GE is no longer the old conglomerate story. The upside today is much cleaner. GE Aerospace has become an installed base, services, and propulsion platform with real operating leverage. That matters because once the market trusts a focused aerospace model, the stock can be valued less on recovery and more on durability. The company ended 2025 with roughly $190 billion of backlog, delivered $42.3 billion of adjusted revenue, $6.37 of adjusted EPS, and $7.7 billion of free cash flow, which is the financial profile of a much stronger business than legacy GE. In the short term, the biggest opportunity is still services. GE says its installed base of about 49,000 commercial and 29,000 military engines supports an aftermarket business that represents around 70% of revenue. That is powerful because services revenue is usually higher quality than pure equipment revenue. It is recurring, tied to utilization, and less dependent on every single new aircraft delivery showing up on time. If travel demand stays healthy, GE can keep compounding through spare parts, shop visits, and long-term support, even before you assume perfect OEM execution. The second short-term opportunity is the LEAP ramp. In 2025, GE increased engine deliveries 25% year-over-year, including record LEAP deliveries up 28%, while defense deliveries rose 30%. Management also said material input from priority suppliers improved more than 40% year-over-year. That matters because it suggests the supply chain is not only a risk, it is also a lever. If supplier performance keeps improving, GE can translate backlog into faster output, better fixed cost absorption, and stronger cash conversion. There is also a very practical near-term lever in capacity expansion. GE announced it would invest about $1 billion in U.S. manufacturing in 2025, with roughly $500 million aimed at engine capacity and more than $100 million to help suppliers improve tooling and reduce defects. This is important because it shows management is not just enjoying demand, it is trying to remove bottlenecks so the business can scale more cleanly. Longer term, the opportunity becomes even more attractive. A growing LEAP fleet means a much larger future service tail, and GE's military propulsion base adds another durable layer of demand. On top of that, the company continues to invest in future-of-flight technologies, including hybrid electric demonstrations. So the long-term upside is not only sell more engines. It is to monetize a larger installed base for years, keep improving execution through flight deck, and let a focused aerospace franchise earn a structurally better valuation than old GE ever could. GE Aerospace's upside is about quality of growth. If services, LEAP, defense propulsion, and execution improvements keep reinforcing each other, the company can keep compounding beyond what a normal industrial cycle would suggest. Analyst sentiment on GE Aerospace is clearly bullish. Out of 21 ratings, 18 are on the buy side, only 2 are holds, and just 1 is negative. So the street is sending a pretty strong message. Most analysts see GE Aerospace as one of the more attractive industrial and aerospace stories right now. That makes sense. The company has strong aftermarket exposure, a growing LEAP engine base, improving delivery momentum, and a much cleaner business model than the old GE. Analysts are not looking at this as a messy restructuring story anymore. They are looking at it as a focused aerospace company with real earnings and cash flow momentum. The small number of hold and negative ratings simply shows that valuation is becoming more demanding after the strong run. But overall, this is still a very supportive rating profile. Wall Street is largely bullish on GE Aerospace, and the main debate is less about business quality and more about how much upside remains after the re-rating.